Today, on the first episode of New Smyrna Beach, we're going to talk about the art. New Smyrna Beach is well known for their art, galleries, and places to go, like Atlantic Center for the Arts, Janet's Art Center, a hub for Canal's company, the Hub on Canal, and Arts on Douglas. Today, we're going to be talking to two Gallaghers, a beautiful place, well-talented artist.
How's it going?
It's going good. Good to
Going
see you,
good.
Anthony. Thanks
Good
for
to
coming
seeing you.
into my gallery studio space. I appreciate
You
it.
know I gotta come here. You got some beautiful pictures.
And you got some good pizza.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for feeding the wildlife and the artists. I appreciate it.
We try, and thank you for the beautiful designs and beautiful pictures that you have here.
Oh man, thank
It's
you.
amazing the art that you push out of this place. When I tell you, it's amazing. How long you been doing this for?
So I've been making art and design pretty much my whole life. As a kid, as a teenager, I would always win kind of local art shows, and I was a standout in my art class. I remember once in middle school, I was doing a drawing, and I noticed that the classroom got really quiet. And when you're drawing, you get into a zone, so you really don't see what's going on around you. I'm looking at my drawing, and I'm like, it's quiet. I turn around, and the teacher and the whole class is behind me.
Oh wow!
Watching me draw.
Wow.
And that was in middle school.
Middle school. So how old?
I was, probably 12.
So
and I think that's when I kind of figured out maybe I've got something going on here.
What did you draw?
I was just drawing a still life.
Oh.
The teacher set up some apples and some grapes and stuff and said, "Hey, draw this."
Oh, wow.
And I drew a lot as a kid. Like when I was at home, my daughter's the same way. Just constantly drawing, filling up sketchbook after sketchbook after sketchbook.
Wow.
So then I went to high school, and of course I studied art in high school. And I went to college. I had no intent of studying art.
Really?
I'm going to be a responsible member of society. I'm not going to study.
What did you go
art.
for?
Well, I went for art because I couldn't stop taking art classes.
I'm saying, oh, when you went to college?
Yeah, I took like an introduction to art class, and then I took drawing, and then I took painting, and then before I knew it, I had an art major. So I was a double major, triple minor. I was an art major, English major, sociology minor, art history minor, and yeah.
So where did you go to college?
Stetson. So,
Stetson?
Yeah, Stetson, right around the corner. Yeah, great program. They taught me a lot.
Yeah.
So I went from that right into being an artist. Like there just wasn't an option for me.
So where did you start? Like actually, selling your art and getting yourself out there. Where did you start your life pretty much of being an artist?
So I graduate from college. I had a bunch of artwork, and I was living in this house in Orlando, and I had this porch, and I'd look at my neighbor who's painting. I could see his studio.
Oh, that's cool.
And he's painting. His name is Gustavo Genas. And I'm like, hey man, I'm a painter too. He's like, what? Comes over, looks at my work. His mind is blown because my mind was blown with his work. It was fantastic work. Great. Two artists happen to be near each other.
Wow.
He brings in a curator, Mendy Cowell.
Well, hold on. Did he do the same kind of art that you did?
Totally different.
Totally different.
Totally. So I was like, I'm pretty representational. I make stuff that looks like stuff.
Yeah.
He was very abstract and emotional.
Yeah.
He's Latino. He's a Latin guy. So
has a lot of emotion in it. A
lot of emotion, a lot of sex, a lot of butts. So anyways, this girl comes in, Mendy Cowles, and she's a curator in Orlando. She runs like all the bars in all of Orlando. And she's like, where have you been? She's like yelling at me. And I'm like, I've been here the whole time. She goes, well, I need to show your work. So I get a show at the Social, Sapphire Supper Club. And before my show even opens, 2 people in town were in a bidding war over my pieces.
Oh, wow.
I sell out the whole show.
Wow.
And the rest is kind of history from Orlando.
That's got to be a good feeling.
It was just like a kaboom.
Yeah.
Big explosion. And it was exciting. You know, I was 23, 24 at the time.
And you probably thought to yourself, I made a right decision when I was going to do it for my future.
yeah, I mean, when you're an artist and you're an artist, you get a lot of arguments with your parents.
Yeah.
You know, because mom and dad are like, you're going to live in a trailer down by the river.
Mhm.
You know, you better learn how to beg. But I don't know, it kind of worked out for me. That's how I got my start in the art world.
Did
in
you ever
Orlando.
go back to your parents and be like, look at me now? You know?
No, I mean, I was when I was in Orlando, I made it in a couple weeklies and I made it in a couple magazines. And yeah, I'd leave the magazines on the coffee table, you know, just
That's
sort
funny.
of push them out there like, hey, you know.
I think after a while they probably accepted it. They were just like, oh, you know what? This was a good choice.
It was, and it was fun. When you're in your 20s, you got money comes and goes so easy,
Yeah.
right? You know, you're not investing it.
No.
You're not thinking about. You don't even think about the future. I would sell a painting. I'd buy all my boys drinks at the bar.
Yeah, fun. Everything was
Yeah,
fun.
it was all about the fun, and so consequently, most of my money just disappeared. And my wife looked at me and said, "I want to have a baby." And I'm like, "Well, that's cool and all, but we don't have health insurance." And she's like, "Well, you better get yourself a JOB." So this is when I lived in New Smyrna. So I applied for a job at Haynes Brothers Furniture of all places.
Oh,
Probably
wow.
heard of Haynes Brothers.
Yeah.
And
Wait, how many years ago?
decades ago. My daughter's 20, so this is 20 years ago, 21 years ago.
So 21 years ago, you moved to New Smyrna.
Yeah, I was in New Smyrna 20
Oh,
years
wow.
ago. Yeah, I moved here in '99, so more than that. I think maybe 25 years.
What made you come to New Smyrna?
Shredding the gnar, bro. I came here to surf.
Yeah, this is definitely the biggest surf town.
Yeah, it's a big surf town. So I came here to surf. When I was an artist, Anthony, it was great, but I was out of shape, dude.
Really?
I'd spend all my days doing this, and when I was done doing this, I'd go out drinking. So I was like kind of fat and miserable. And I'm like, I need to lose weight. I need to get back into shape. So I came here and I surfed. I surfed myself silly. I thought I was in Hawaii. Like I was like, yeah, there's waves every day. In any case, long story short, Denise said, you got to get a job because we got to figure out how we're going to raise these kids. And she was a teacher. She wanted to raise the kids at home. So I got a job at Haynes Brothers Furniture, designing newspaper ads of all things. Fast forward about a year or two, I was doing all the ad buys. I built their first website. I redid their logo. I was just going ham.
Wow.
And I was really good at marketing because in Orlando, I was marketing shows, and selling art is probably the hardest thing in the world to sell because you've got a bunch of dried oil on a piece of canvas.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you it's valuable. And you're like, bullshit, that's valuable. That's not valuable. I'm trying to prove to you that it is.
The eye of the beholder.
Right. And how do I get that eye of the beholder to pull out the cash?
Yeah.
It's a hard job. In any case, it's easier to sell furniture, I found out. So they went ham. They absolutely loved me. Little company called DME brought us in because they said they were going to hire us as clients. They were interviewing me. They targeted me.
Wow.
And they brought me in and they said, so what do you think of our facility? I said, the facility's fantastic. Xerox iGen printers. They had 10 of them. World-class facility. Their clients include Ford, Southeast Toyota, Hilton Grand Vacation Clubs. I mean, big, big clients. They offered me a job as a creative director.
Oh.
So all of a sudden, I went from being this guy designing ads for a small furniture company to managing campaigns for Southeast Toyota.
Wow.
Overnight. And I did that, and as long as I could, stressed myself out, lost all my hair, got fat again. And
what do you mean? You're skinny.
Well, I'm skinny now because I quit that job.
So back then,
yeah,
did you do stuff on computer or did you do it like all like hand?
So one of the artists that worked for me, I had a team of artists working for me, and they did all the pointing and clicking. Every now and then I would sit on the computer and point and click, but mostly I was directing. Okay. Mostly I was telling them what to do. And one of the famous quotes was, get your Rembrandt off my postcard, because we were designing postcards. And I'd always bring art history in because I was an art history guy, and design and composition and color theory, all the stuff they don't teach you. when they're teaching you how to build ads. So I next leveled the program. We won all kinds of Addy awards. We did very well. But yeah, so it was kind of fun to work with all those artists. It was very stressful. It was a lot of work, and I'm happy now that I've returned to the art game. And what brought me back to my art game was my daughter, which was oddly the reason why I left the art game in the first place, because we were having a baby, remember?
Yeah.
So she comes out, and you can't keep her away from John. She just, it's like gravity.
She got your genes.
She got the curse. That's what I like to call it. She got the curse of art in me. And I'm like, oh no, here we go. So rather than scream from the sidelines, hey, change the play, do this, do that, quit my job, got the studio, and joined her in the game. And I thought to myself, rather than teach her how to make it as an artist, I'm going to show her.
Wow.
So that's what brought about Two Gallaghers Art Studio. It's kind of a gift to my daughter, but it's also a gift for me because I get to spend my days listening to weird music, eating your pizza, and painting these things.
Beautiful, amazing pictures.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm a process guy, so I like the making of them. I let other people like you and a couple buyers that I've got enjoy the product.
So, is this the only thing you dip your hands into is the painting, or do you do other things too?
Well, when I was working in advertising, I put a couple acorns aside and bought a couple properties here in Smyrna Beach. So I also own and manage NSB Vacation Home. So I've got some vacation rentals, which is nice because it's a place where I can put my artwork and have customers that come here and enjoy the beach and enjoy the New Smyrna Beach lifestyle. And they also get to enjoy my art.
Do you ever sell anything out of your places?
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
Some of my best customers are, vacationers that stay with me, and we become friends. And when they go back to Ohio or New York or New Jersey, they like to take a painting with them to remind them of New Smyrna.
That's actually a great idea.
Yeah.
Having the paintings there, and then, like you said, they go home, and every time they look at the painting on their wall, they remember. It brings them back memories of this place.
Yeah,
that's awesome. See, look at that. You got good advertising.
I don't know how that happened. Yeah, no, it's. I'm just glad it's working, and I'm super thankful and super lucky, Anthony.
Yeah.
To be in the position I'm in, to be able to do this, because being an artist is hard. Like even now, even having some money coming in, you're getting rejected all the time.
Yeah.
I get, probably 50 no's for every yes. And you apply for shows and they tell you your work's not good enough. And, you really have to fall in love with the process, and you can't fall in love with the results.
Yeah. Denial is very hard.
To
accept.
It's hard, when the doors keep shutting on you. But the doors are opening now. I feel like I've got some momentum going. I've got a couple people that are helping me pay rent. They're buying my paintings on a regular basis. So things are moving along. And I feel like my paintings are getting better and better. And that's exciting for me.
Oh, yeah. I think your paintings are amazing. Every time I see your paintings, I always come in, I'll be like, oh my God, you outdid yourself this time.
That's a true story. Anthony comes in here and goes, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I love it, So thank you for that, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, maybe one day you make a painting for me, Pizza Daddy, Daddy.
I've got some ideas. That could happen.
Oh, I'm waiting. I'm here. I'm excited for that one.
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say is that sometimes we were just talking about the denial things. People kind of get a shell of themselves because they don't want to. They feel discouraged of pushing harder. Go farther and farther and farther. That's the one thing of being a successful person is that maybe one person or a few people don't like it, but then there's 20 people that love your stuff.
Right.
So it's you can't look at the bad. You got to always push for the good. Keep it going.
Yeah, I mean, you've started some businesses from scratch.
Oh yeah.
And you've got to be an optimist.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're looking for the bad things that happen, you'd never get out of
Oh
bed.
yeah.
You know, you'd never make another pizza. But if you get out of bed, there's a spring in your step because you know that you're going to make it. You
Yeah.
believe in yourself and that you're going to fight the fight. And it's not always the path you think it's going to be,
Yeah.
you know, and you got to change. You've got to adapt. You've got to overcome.
Yeah.
And it's business, you know. And I think there's a lot of artists out there that never went through the trials and tribulations of being a businessman,
Yeah.
and they give up.
It's always an up and down situation. Always. When you're in business, but when you're up, you got to take it while you can.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, even here, like in New Smyrna Beach, it's like, it's a vacation town. Yeah, people live here, but most of the people are vacationers that come
Right.
here. And it's like, even on my lives, they say, oh, you know, how do you make it? Sometimes there's really nobody in the pizzeria. I'm like, listen, like right now is our slow season, but when it's busy, it's mayhem here.
Right. Right.
So it's like, you got to take the good with the bad. When it's slow, you know what? I take my moment of, you know, mind rest and relaxation and get prepared for when the busy season does come in.
Because it's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming.
It's always comes. It's always.
And if you don't build a strong framework, if you don't have a strong foundation,
Yeah.
how can you build a house? Right?
Yeah.
That house is going to fall. So I think a lot of it is about building that foundation and believing in yourself enough to buy the right pizza ovens. For me,
Yeah.
getting the studio space, getting a space where I can show my work, getting a space where I can make the work.
Yeah.
You know, and
Another thing is you got to have that little play in the background, like the money play.
Right.
You never, like, the one thing opening even a pizzeria, it's like everything has to be in line, perfect. I will not open a pizzeria if it's not perfect. If one thing is wrong, I want to fix that before it goes perfect. That's like, even when I get new menu items, I want to make sure my employees make it exactly the way I want them to make it, because if they don't make it exactly they want, I won't put it on the menu.
Right.
So it's like, you need everything perfect, because that one person is, you know, or a couple people say one bad thing, it's like, it spreads like wildfire about that one bad thing.
That's so true. And in my own art, and coming from the world of advertising where I have staff, you know, and I had to be the quality control person, and I had to herd cats, and I had to try to get the best out of my employees, and then present it to a client who wanted their own thing. So I was on this constant world of push and pull and compromise. It's really nice to be in front of my painting in my studio, making my own decisions. So now it's up to me.
Yeah.
You know, if the painting sucks, guess whose fault it is? It's my fault.
Yeah.
It's on me. So I've got to make sure everything's right, because when I present myself in a show, I'm trying to create that wow experience for my customers.
Yeah.
You know, just like with NSB Vacation, I want them to walk into the homes and go, wow, this is unexpected. This is unbelievable. Just like when they eat your pizza.
Yeah.
First time I had your pizza, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
There's a decent New York pizza place right down the street from me.
Yeah.
And that's unheard of.
I know, especially here in Florida.
Yeah, totally.
Slices, nobody really sells slices around here.
No, not like yours. Not like yours. But if you don't create that wow experience for your customer, you're not gonna make it.
Yeah.
You know, you need to exceed their expectations. And in the art world, that's a very hard thing to do.
Yeah. I think me and you are kind of like, I can't, you know, I have the same issues where you say that push and pull with the other, you know, working for somebody or something like that. I have the same issues. I have to be in complete control of something to make something beautiful come out.
Right. You're in control of that creative process. You're in control of that product. And it's fun. I find that the creative journey is fun. I think when I look back on my life history, I realize that I'm really good at taking an idea, a concept, and making it a reality.
Yeah.
And nothing brings me joy like doing that. And this stuff, painting, way cheaper than building a business, building a house,
Yeah.
working in the advertising agency, because there you're dealing with a world of compromise. And now I get to kind of just live my fantasy, hopefully, knock on wood, of making things that please people
Yeah.
and that would be sustainable.
Yeah. I get the same thought.
Cool.
I'll pick a business that's like we used to do this all the time growing up, me and my father,
Mm-hmm.
and we would find like places or businesses that would like be like under, so they would sell them for very cheap because they're trying to get whatever they possibly can get out of it.
Yeah. Sorry, say that again.
So
Start at the beginning of that,
all
because
right,
those are big deal.
so we would see businesses that like are failing,
Uh-huh.
and we'd buy them, and they would be cheap because they're just trying to pay whatever they owe just to get out,
Mm-hmm.
because they're so far under. So we would take over these businesses, and I would see like 100 things that they're doing wrong in the business that I feel, you know what, if you make these changes, you can make something out of this.
Right.
So it's like we buy these, it's like a canvas, empty canvas, or there's like a little picture, but you know what, it's not finished. And I go in there and I do my little, pizza daddy stuff,
Yeah.
and fix it up, clean it up, make it look nice, and also change the name, doing a couple of things, change the recipes and everything. And the thrive of like, all right, we're going to open, and now everything's perfect the way I think it's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll open the door. A couple months later, we're making money. And now the business is making money past what needs to survive.
Right. Right.
So
You know what that's called?
what's that?
Vision. So you have the vision to walk into a business that's struggling and say, hey man, if I just turn this screw here, if I sand this a little bit here, put a little stain there, boom, everything's changed. And having that vision is a special gift. Not everybody has that.
But there's also a curse to that too.
Tell me about that curse.
The curse is now that I go in, like, this is all my life. I'll go in restaurants, and I'll see how many employees they have, how they treat their customers, how they're doing this, how they're doing that, this or that. And sometimes I'll see something that another restaurant's doing, like as far as like the way they got their setup or something like that. I'll be like, oh, that's actually a good idea. I should do that in my next one, because I could see where it cuts time, or it does something better for the restaurant. I could see where it does. Sometimes I'm just like, all right, this is why this place is not that busy.
Right.
And it's like psychologically, like I always have to look. Even when I go out to dinner with anybody, they'll be like, oh, why you're not paying? You're looking around. You're not even talking to me. And I'm like, it's just a subconscious thing that I have to look at every part of this, how it's functioning, and how it's, if it's a really busy restaurant, why is it busy? What are they offering, or what are they doing that is, succeeding this well? And sometimes I take ideas from other people, and I make another restaurant that.
The best ideas are always stolen. When I see great ideas, I steal them and I make them my own. And it's funny you say that about restaurant businesses, because I feel you. I feel you with art galleries, artists. I feel you with construction. I did a lot of home construction when I bought NSB Vacation Home. I built those houses myself. It was me and a couple buddies.
I remember.
So
you used to come in every day with your outfits and everything like that, with
covered
your
in
boots.
dust. And now my wife and I will check into an Airbnb, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm looking at the trim."
Yeah.
Like, what are you looking at the trim for? I'm like, "Well, it's not right. It's not aligned." And she's like, "Who cares?"
Yeah.
I do, because when you build something, you start to notice those small details.
Yeah. Even if they're offering something that you're not offering, and you'd be like, oh, that's a good idea. I should start doing that.
Right. Because I'm a firm believer that big doors swing on small hinges.
Yeah.
And you got to identify what those hinges are. And if you can find them, you can put them in your own life and improve yourself and kind of build on yourself. It's funny that, we come from different walks of life, but we are very similar.
Yeah.
In that we have that kind of mindset of, how can I make that better?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Have you ever thought of yourself as Pizza Daddy, as maybe a pizza artist?
You know, I always say, and I said in my live, because I said there's millions of pizza men.
Right.
I said, but everybody makes pizzas differently.
Okay.
And I always say it's like an art. You might make a Chicago style your way, or I make a New York style my way.
Mm-hmm.
And your New York style might be a little bit different because, it's what your vision is of a New York style pizza. My New York style pizza is the way you see here.
Right.
And this is just the walks of life, that made me to where my New York style is like this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like not to necessarily I'm right, you're wrong, or you're wrong, I'm right, or whatever, either or. It's, a preference thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, somebody might come to your pizzeria, even though you make it a little bit different than I do, like your pizza better than my pizza because you do something differently than what I do.
Mm-hmm.
But then people come to me and have my pizza and they're like, oh, this is way better than everybody else.
Yeah.
But I take pride in what I put out. Everything I do is like with pizza, I use the best products and stuff like that. And,
Sure.
I won't sell anything that I'm like, it's mediocre. It's okay. You know what I mean?
Because your name's on it.
Yeah.
Because you take pride in your work. And that's, I think, that drive, not necessarily for perfection, but that drive to be better,
Yeah.
helps us succeed. And that drive you put on your employees.
Yeah.
They want to do better, and I want to do better, and my daughter wants to do better, and we're constantly striving for that. People come in all the time and say, "Oh wow, that painting looks great," and I'm like, "Well, we're not there yet." And they're like, "I would stop right there, right now," and then they come back tomorrow and they go, "Oh my God, it's amazing."
Yeah.
And you just kind of have to keep leveling up and leveling up and leveling
That's
up.
the same thing that happened today when I first came in. You were like, if the clouds are not done.
Right.
And I'm like saying, well, I see this and you see, pretty much the same thing I saw.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, we got to come back for this and check out when the clouds are done.
Right. Right. That's the exciting part too of creating art, because I don't know if pizzas talk to you, but paintings talk to me. I'm at the point now with this painting where I need to shut up, which means I need to stop actually putting paint on canvas and I need to listen, because the painting is going to tell me what it needs. But if I don't listen to it, it won't get what it needs. So I need to look and study, see it under different lights, under different songs, in different moods, and kind of just put those final touches on it to really bring that magic there.
It's amazing because pizza is kind of the same thing. Because like when I get new pizza guys and stuff like that, and I see how they make pizzas, and when it comes out and everything, I naturally already could see the flaws or the good in somebody. Where like right away I already know, like let's say the pizza is a little thin. I could just look at it and be like, all right, there's thin spots in that pizza.
Right.
And meanwhile, somebody else is like, no, 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 no. And I'm like, I touched the bottom of it and I said, right here. And they're just like amazed that like I could just see it. And I think it's like being around all this, you naturally already, like your mind already, can see things that nobody else can see because you just, I don't know, doing it all your life.
Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book. You probably heard of Malcolm Gladwell. He wrote a book called Outliers. And in Outliers, he talked about the 10,000 hours. And it took 10,000 hours of any practice, 10,000 hours of making pizzas, to make you an expert at making pizzas. 10,000 hours of throwing pitches to make you an expert pitcher. 10,000 hours of shooting free throws to be a basketball player, right? 10,000 hours of painting. I think you've got your 10,000 hours.
I think I'm well over 10,000.
Yeah, but you got them. So with your 10,000 hours, you can probably smell a pizza and be like, no, that dough's wrong. We got to fix this. And the same as with design and art. I got my 10,000 hours in design for sure. Color theory, creating, and I can look at a painting or look at a design and immediately tell you sort of this is what we need to do to take it to the next level.
Oh yeah.
And It's a curse. I mean, it's a gift and a curse.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm sure you got to keep your mouth shut. Like if you're eating at a restaurant and somebody's like, "Oh, isn't this the best pizza ever?" and you're like,
Yep. Yep.
"It's okay."
I don't want to say it, but I went somewhere that was selling pizzas.
Yeah.
And I didn't go there for the pizza. I went there for an Italian pasta dish,
Okay.
which the area, it is close to here, but it's about 45 minutes from here.
Okay. We don't have to name any
Yeah.
names.
So I went there, and I went there for just a pasta. Like, they have a nice Italian pasta dish. Even though I can make it myself, you know what? I cook all day. So I'd rather go someplace. And it was my first time there. You know, the pasta dish wasn't horrible. It was okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the person I went with, they got a small pie, a 12-inch pizza. I'm like looking at it. I'm like, oh my god. So, and they're like, oh, why don't you try it and this and that. I was like, I could already tell, like, all right, the sauce, I could tell it's going to be acidy just by looking at it, this and that. And the funny thing is they knew it was going to be acidy. Like the person I went with, they were like, yeah, it's a little acidy, but it's good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, but the sauce shouldn't be acidy if you're going to eat pizza.
Are you continuing to learn? Are you getting better?
You know what? Yes. The only reason why I say yes, because there's always room for improvements on everything.
Isn't there a huge joy? There is for me in getting better.
Yeah.
Like nothing is as attractive to me as a steep learning curve. And it took me a long time to figure that out. And that's what attracted me to surfing. It's because it's hard.
Yeah.
Surfing is just hard. It's difficult. So you learn and you learn and you learn and you learn, you get better and you get better and you get better. And making pizza, it's hard. Running your own business, buying a business and restarting it, making it profitable, hard.
Oh yeah.
So, but there's something that's so rewarding and so joyful about that process of getting better at something. Like I don't even want to be the greatest painter on the planet. Like I don't care about that at all. And I don't think I'd still be painting if that was my goal. All I want to do is learn and continue to get better. Just like I'm sure you want to learn and continue to make better pizzas, continue to get better businesses, continue to build your TikTok fans.
I mix a lot of different things up sometimes with pizza and see if it'll work. And I had doing those of them, the people that watch me on TikTok, they know, like, I even asked them, like, what do you think would be a good idea? What should we make next?
Right.
What kind of ideas and this and that? And I love that.
Yeah.
Making stuff that no other pizzeria is doing.
Right.
And you know what? Some of them don't work out, and some of them could be bangers. You know?
Yeah, and you got to try it. I mean, you got to try, and that's one of the things that's like Art IRL, the art party that I'm throwing here in town. People told me, oh, you don't want it. That's not going to happen. And New Smyrna's already got its established galleries. It's already got its established art scene. You'll never make an impact. And I'm thinking to myself, there's a bunch of artists in this town that are unsung heroes. Nobody knows about them. And we need to bring them to the forefront. So I started the art party, Art IRL, which means art in real life, and brought together the best talent that I could find and put it in an atmosphere that's not pretentious, got music, got drinks, everybody's having a good time, and just I'm trying to sort of lift culture a little bit, kind of bring it along. How can we create better conversations? How can we create a culture? And it's about bringing people together. It's about sharing stories and, breaking bread. And that kind of community building is something that I really love to do.
You're also bringing different visions.
Yeah.
And opening people's eyes by the visions.
And that's so important if you want to bring culture up a notch. And if you want to continue to grow, you've got to grow your community. You've got to grow your influence. And that helps me grow. So it's a sort of a give and take. And it's really exciting to be in that position now in a town that is growing so rapidly that is ripe and ready for this.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. You just won an art show this past weekend.
Yeah, I did. So it was my first outdoor art festival ever. I've never done one. So I bought the tent, I bought the walls, put it up. I really didn't have much expectations. I was like, okay, it was kind of an experiment. And Fred Messersmith was judging the show. And he's kind of like a big deal. He's like an art hero locally. And I was just excited that he was looking at my work. And he selected me for judging. And I was over the moon. And then he comes back and he says, hey, man, you won Best of Show, which means of all the artists in the whole exhibit, my artwork was the best. And I was not expecting that because I've only been in the studio now for about 2 years.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm leapfrogging with every painting, which is exciting, but I don't feel like I'm there yet. And that was just a little sort of feather in my cap saying, keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. You're on to something.
That feels good when you win a.
Yeah, it did. It did. It was surprising.
How many people were you were against?
Oh, I don't know.
There was a lot of people here.
Yeah.
There was a lot of booths and a lot of painters because New Smyrna is an art town.
Yeah. Oh no, it very definitely is an art town. We've got Atlantic Center for the Arts here. We've got Arts on Douglas here. We've got the Hub. We've got Jane's Art Center. We've got just tons of art being made in this town. And it's exciting. It's exciting to be here. And I'm sort of on the younger side of this art world. Yeah. And
well, you're young.
Ish.
You're young.
I'm young. It depends on who's I'm not young, but it's exciting to be in this art town, and it surprised me that they weren't communicating, that there wasn't that sort of cross-pollinization. Like, it's an art town, but where is everybody?
Yeah.
They all do the art shows and sort of compete against each other, but I wanted to bring them together.
Yeah. Well, when I do my lives for the pizzas, the same thing. When pizza guys come into my lives, I said, I am open doors to every pizza guy out there. I'm like, you know what? Everybody has their own style of art. It's style of pizza. And it's like, there shouldn't be a competition. There should be, everybody should be working kind of, not together. I'm like, kind of like, this is my art, this is your art, your eyes are not going to look at my eyes, but my eyes won't look at your eyes. You get what I'm saying? Like, we won't, like, the people that go after my pizza is because they want that type of pizza. People that are going to go to your pizza because they want that kind of pizza.
Right.
So it's like, same thing with art, like, realistic or, whatever style, the people that are going to come to you is because they got the eyes for you. Right.
And there's not really a better or worse than.
Yeah.
I think there's room for everything. There's room for abstract paintings. There's room for representational paintings and everything in between. And there's no better than. Yeah. Like, this whole notion of, and it's kind of funny that you talked to me about winning the art competition, because it's what is that, right?
Yeah.
I admire anybody who's willing to take something they've created and hang it on a wall and say, come look at it.
Yeah.
That is huge and very scary to do. And if you're willing to do that, and you're willing to say, hey, come look at my stuff and let's talk about it, awesome. Applause. Let's keep that going. Let's keep that conversation going, because I believe firmly that a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah.
And when a bunch of pizza guys get together and talk about their pizza, everybody's pizza is going to get better.
Oh, yeah.
When a bunch of guys get together and girls get together and talk about art and their pieces and what they're making and what they're throwing on the wall, everybody's art's going to get better.
Oh,
it's that cultivation of culture that I think is important if we want to live in a civilized society. That civilization is making culture and humanity better. And we need to communicate. We need to come together, throw aside our differences and talk about pizza, throw aside our differences and talk about art, throw aside our differences and talk about surfing. Let's get better at these things and communicate and become more of a community and less of like you're on this side, I'm on this side.
Yeah, exactly. You can't compare Chicago style pizza to New York style
No,
pizza.
you can't.
You know,
No, it's a totally different ballgame.
Yeah,
it's like apple pie and cherry pie.
Yeah,
different pie.
Exactly. So what is the, you know, why we can't work, you know, together, or like, you know, like you said, you know, bring everybody together. You know, there's room for everybody.
There's room for everybody.
You
There's
know?
room for everybody.
So,
even if they like Chicago style pizza.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. I'm not saying Chicago style is bad.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's a preference.
Preference.
Like, you know, it's all preference.
Mm-hmm.
Is this your first show?
That
like
was my
that first, not show, but what the fair?
That was my first outside art festival.
Yeah.
So I've never done art festivals before. I've always done gallery shows or museum shows. I've done some group shows. But this was my first time setting up a tent. And Florida's full. Like the weather gets so beautiful down here in the winter that there's outdoor festivals all over the state.
And are you going to do the Canal Street one when they do it?
I'm going to try. Yeah. I mean, I know the organizer, and he said, "Oh, you want flamingo?" And I said, "Yeah." And he says, "Do you want to do that?" I said, "Yes, I'll happily do it." So I'm going to be in images. I'm going to be in that one, and I've got the tent now, so I'm going to continue to apply for them. And it's fun because a lot of people are there just to walk their dogs, and just hang out, and they walk by my booth and they sort of stop and they look and they look and they're like. They go in and they've never really looked at art like mine before.
Well, you got to figure, like, people that are not into art, like, they don't understand it.
Right.
If they just come and walk down and they start realizing, oh my God, that's beautiful.
Right.
This and that. And then it's like, kind of opens the mind of like, all right, maybe I'm into some kind of art.
Right.
And then they go into this rabbit hole with, with pictures and everything like that. And then all of a sudden they're starting to buy them for their house.
Right.
Because it's like, oh my God, this is how I feel when I see these pictures.
If I can stop somebody from going to Rooms to Go, and buying art from there, or, going to Target or IKEA and buying their art there, and buying art from an artist that's making original work, I've done my job, right? Because we want humans need to express themselves, and we need to have things in our lives that are original, that are meaningful, that are interesting. Not all of us want to live and work in cubicles with all of our items replaceable.
Yeah.
We're individuals, and we should continue to be individuals, and I think art's a very big part of that.
Yeah. It is, definitely. For me, it brings like when I see art and stuff like that, some of it brings out like this feeling of like warmth and stuff. Some things, or like your art is like, I don't know, it's like amazing. It's when I look at like, even it's not done, I look at it and I'm just like, like beautiful, the ocean and the clouds in the background, and it's just like, oh my God, I feel like I'm there.
Right.
When I'm.
Well, then it works, because that's I'm trying to bring a little bit of magic back into my art. I'm trying to bring a little bit of magic of New Smyrna Beach, a little bit of that quality that you can't really describe in words, but that essence of being here.
Yeah.
And just a little token of that, just a little hint of that, a little spark of that. If I can bring that into my artwork, I feel like I've succeeded. So when you say that to me, I mean, shivers run down my spine. I'm like, oh my God, I did it. So I'm going to keep trying. I mean, I'm going to keep going down this path, because people seem to appreciate it, and
you have a talent. You always got to move forward. Yeah. That talent.
Talent or a curse. It keeps me up at night, but it's fun, and I'm.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Without this is the one thing I say to myself. What am I without this curse or talent?
Right.
I would have nothing.
Right. No, it's what gets you out of bed.
Yeah.
It's what makes life exciting, and I think
it makes you different too.
It makes me different. And, you know, for a little while in my career, I was in sales, and it was a non-creative position. And I was fighting it tooth and nail. I would write my own scripts. I would come up with my own presentations, and I'd be like, here, check this out. And the boss would say, no, 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 Bill, stay on the script. And I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it.
The number one thing that I have a problem is people understanding.
Really?
Yeah.
You're such a likable guy.
Well,
I mean, people gravitate towards you, and we all feel like we're similar to you.
yeah. Well, like understand me, like as far as like how I tick,
Okay.
like how I move during the day, or why I do this, or why I do this and this. I see something different than somebody else would see.
Right.
People don't understand that because like they might be looking at it this way, but I'm looking at it like around the corner backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like sometimes a lot of people don't understand me.
I think it's because you have vision. We talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
And when you have that vision, you know, like you, I love walking into businesses and studying them and saying, okay, like a coffee shop, for example. How much money are they making per cup of coffee? How many cups of coffee do they need
but
to
how
sell
many
to stay in
people are
business?
thinking like that?
Right. You know, how fast? So they've got one lady at the counter who's taking the money, and then she turns around and she makes the coffee. So then I got to stand there and wait for that cup of coffee to be finished before I can buy mine. They need two people. They need one to make the cup of coffee, one to take the money. So when you start thinking in terms of efficiencies like that and how a business sort of ticks, it's hard to have a conversation with just anybody.
Yeah. That's the number one tale is how many people are working at, how good the business is doing.
Right. 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 And it's, I mean, you're a far better expert at that than I am. You know, I look at marketing programs and I look at what's your return on investment. You know, how can you make money doing this? How many people have you reached? What are you doing with your hand raisers? And I see people doing, you know, just bad marketing left and right.
Yeah.
But whatever. I just keep my mouth shut, keep painting.
Yeah, you got your own things to worry about.
I got plenty of things to worry about. Plenty of things to worry about.
What do you think about my marketing on my videos?
I love them. I mean, I think that the social media has exploded, and with good reason. I think before we had TikTok, before we had Instagram, before we had all of our own channels, you had all this talent.
Yeah.
Just like knocking on the doors of television stations, going, "Give me a show."
Yeah.
And TV's like, "No, we're keeping this to ourselves." Now anybody with a phone can do it. And what I think is happening is the rising tide is lifting a lot of boats right now. And there's all kind. I mean, it's happened in the music industry. It's happening with the artists. New York is no longer the center of the artwork. New York used to be it. Like if you wanted to make it as an artist, you had to move to New York.
Yeah.
Now I describe the art world,
California.
right? LA, you know, San Francisco. But now Houston has an art scene. Okay, Miami has got an amazing art scene. All of these towns all over the country are setting off fireworks. And you in an Instagram account, and you're making art and you're showing it, and somebody flips through it and they go, "Oh my God, that art is great."
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's a great time to be alive and
you
to
can be
creative.
in a small town now and make it big.
Right. Right. You don't have to be, you know, kissing somebody's ass in New York City to try to get a show.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, what? And I said this to a bunch of people recently. I said, "Why am I waiting for a seat at the table? I can make a table.
Yeah.
I know how to make a table.
Yeah. And
I
bring
got
everybody
the wood.
together.
Right. Here's your seat."
Yeah.
And I think we're living in a world where those opportunities exist.
Yeah.
And it's real exciting.
Yeah. I seem to enjoy the whole.
Oh, well, you're kicking ass at it. I mean, you're a natural. People gravitate towards you.
Yeah.
You've got that sort of electric personality.
Oh,
Yeah, I think the sky is the limit for you, and your TikTok and your interview skills and where you want to take this. I mean, it's got to be pretty good to be Anthony right
now. It's a lot of work right now. It's just I'm finding my way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I love doing the TikTok, and it's like you said, improving.
Right.
Every day I'm doing something different. And I'm like, oh my God, that looked good.
Right.
You know, doing this and then improving on this and that. And like the interview thing, like, you know, I know it's going to take a bunch of interviews before I get good at it.
Sure.
But you know what? I'll find stuff here and there when I do the video, like, all right, I can do a little bit better on that. All right, I need to fix this, or I need to do this and that.
Right.
The problem is like what we both have. We'll watch something 100 million times before we have it processed in our head. And the next time we do, we need to do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Or like you said, you look at something and you're like, all right, I can do little touches here, touches there. Like it talks to you and this and that. That's like the video I showed you today. Yeah, it's a 30-second video. But you know what? It took me like 2 hours to do it because I'm like watching it like 100 million times.
Right,
saying,
right,
all right, is
right,
this you know, good enough to put it out there?
Yeah. And it was, but at some point, you know, I'm sure you do this with your videos too. I look at my painting and I go, okay, I'm going to fix everything on the next one.
Yeah.
This one's done. I'm going to put this one away and I'm going to fix everything on the next one. And then I look at the paintings that are a year old and I go, nothing but mistakes. And other people are like, oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And these paintings are like, no, you know, people ask me, well, what's your favorite painting? I'm like, it's the one on my easel, you know, or it's the next one. That's my favorite one. But it's the process. It's not the product. It's the process. It's the process of making things.
Yeah. I watch some of my old stuff and I'm like, why would I put that out there? You know?
I mean, same with my art. You know, same with my art. It's because you're always getting better. And that's the whole thing. It's the making of. It's not the actual video. It's not the actual painting. It's the act of painting. It's the act of shooting the video, setting up the shots. It's editing. It's putting music to it. I mean, I've sat in a few editing days in my life, and it's exciting. You know, when that music hits with that video and it's just on, man, there's nothing like it. It's that joy of creation.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as I finish something, I'm like, oh, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I drive people crazy. Shaney and Joe and you and, hey, what do you think of this painting? Do you like this? Do you like that? Hey, yeah, I've pulled you guys off the street many times.
I think last week you did. 2 weeks ago, you were just like, hey, I got something you to look at.
Right.
I'm like, all right, I'll be over there. Let me finish this pizza. Then I'll walk up.
And thanks for looking at it.
Yeah,
because,
I love it. I love seeing your pictures. I always do. I always love to see the process.
That's awesome.
The process is, you know, from looking at, you know, the beginning, and it's just a bunch of sketches to end up to what it is now.
Right.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I also think it's amazing the way you think. You know what I mean? Your vision on the paper and your talent on the paper is amazing to me. Because I also think it might be weird. What's your thought process when you're putting it on the thing? That's another thing that goes through my mind.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I believe in flow and flow moments.
Yeah.
Where, for example, when you're surfing and you catch that wave, you can't think. You can't think, oh, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do this. You just do.
Yeah.
And when you're painting sometimes and you get that flow moment and you're just doing, or making a pizza and you're just doing, it's just coming.
That's one thing I told Riley about. You gotta have flow when you make pizzas.
Right.
You can't be aggressive.
Right.
You gotta have this beautiful flow when you're making. You know, spread it out. Put the sauce in. It all has to flow in together.
Yes. And that's magic.
Yeah.
That's a magic moment. And I think that's one of the best parts of being alive is when we stop thinking and we start doing. You know, it's that athletic moment when you get a receiver catching that pass. The ball's in the air and you're watching the ball fall into your hands.
It's just natural.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And how lucky are we to be able to experience that every day of our lives, to experience that flow.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. But that's 100,000 hours to get it.
Yeah, you got that right. Yeah, it's all those hours.
But, you know, I feel like what we're doing, it's a good impact on the world, no matter what. It's a positive impact.
I think that if we can continue to build community around our process, and we can continue to share joy by the things we create and by creating those things, that we're going to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
And that we can inspire the young ones to follow that path. That I can inspire that young painter, that young musician that's been told their whole life, oh, you'll never make it. But, hey, man, that song you just wrote is pretty epic.
Yeah.
You know, thank you for sharing. You need to write more of that and to inspire that. Because you see that. You see those flowers blossom.
Yeah.
You see these younglings become great and powerful forces.
It's crazy. They're like farther ahead than when I remember people that blossom.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like they're younger, they're evolving younger.
Yeah. And they've got the opportunity right in their fingertips, right in their hands.
Yeah.
To make the world their oyster, and it's great. There's so much more opportunity today to do these creative things than there was when we were growing up. You know, when we were growing up, there was a lot of no's. There's a lot of no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And heard a great quote from Oprah. It's funny that Oprah said this, but I believe in this. Don't ever take a no from somebody who couldn't give you a yes. You know, you have to keep pushing.
Yeah. My favorite thing is don't listen to nobody. Listen to yourself. What you think is right.
Yeah.
Because if you listen to everybody else, it's sad to say, like most people say no.
Right. Right. Well, I'm sure that you've had a lot of doubters in your business.
Oh yeah, and you know and you could probably talk to anybody that's well known. You know how many times their parents, or not even their parents, or friends say, "Oh, you can't do this. You can't do that. You can't do this." That's what makes us different than everybody else. That we don't sit here when somebody's saying no. That yeah, you look at it, you say, all right, you know what? Let me see it in another angle, and then you make your assumption. What's the right thing to do? And for me, it's like most of my life when I do things, it's most of the time I get a no, that's not going to work, or no, that's this. And meanwhile, in my head, I'm like, I think it definitely would work.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Watch me.
And you know what? I'll get like 10 no's. And meanwhile, I still do what I wanted to do.
I mean, I've had many people tell me, obviously, you can't make it as an artist, right? This is not going to happen. And then it happened.
It depends how hungry you are.
And it's that willingness to get up after you've been knocked down.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get knocked down.
Oh, yeah.
There's no question about it. And everything I've ever done worth doing, I've been knocked down.
Oh, yeah.
And you got to get back up. And the whole trick is you got to get up one more time and you get knocked down.
You need to get knocked down.
Yeah.
It teaches you how you get back on your feet again.
Yep. And without that, what are you?
Yeah. Because if you're running on 100 cylinders all the time and going fast, and then all of a sudden one of your cylinders goes down and you're back, you're slow, you got to figure out how to fix that cylinder to make you go back to 100. If a lot of these people that they're on top and then all of a sudden they get knocked down because something bad, and then you never see them again. Because they don't know how to get back up there again.
I tell my son all the time, I said, listen, you're a Gallagher. You're not the smartest. You're not the fastest. You're not the most athletic. But you're the least likely to give up.
Yeah.
You just have to try harder, train harder, work harder, and you'll make it to the top.
Oh yeah.
Because that's what it takes. It takes perseverance. It doesn't take talent.
You gotta want
Talent doesn't get you very far.
it. You gotta really want it.
You got to really want
You know. You know. I don't know. Some people think it's very easy to be, to succeed.
it. How many people have told you that you're lucky?
Yeah.
Man, you are
yeah.
so lucky.
They don't understand the process that I had to go through to get to where I got.
I know. People look at my paintings and they go, "You're so lucky. I wish I could paint like that." I'm thinking, I put 10,000 hours into this.
Do you have any of your first pictures, like when you first started painting?
Yes, I do.
That's something you should post up here.
No.
This is where I started,
Nope.
and this is where I ended up. This
Nope.
is where
No, cut the tape. No, it's very humbling, and it's funny to look back on that because I actually, I'm clearing out an old storage container right now, my mom's storage container, and it has some of my original paintings in it. And I remember this painting of pears I did in college, and I was like, man, you could reach into the painting, grab the pear, and eat it. It's so perfect. The best painting in human existence. I look at it now and it's just facepalm city.
Oh.
It is just nothing but mistakes. So yeah, it's funny to look back on those original things that you held in such high esteem. But that just shows you that you're getting better, and I'm sure I'll look at these paintings, a year from now and I'll be like, ooh, but it's not the product. It's the process. And I keep coming back to that, but I think of that as being so important.
Yeah, definitely. Even with me with pizza, it's pretty much the same thing. I remember things I didn't know back then that I know now.
Mm-hmm.
Things that, like, even the way my pizzas look, even the sauces. The sauce is different than what I used to use.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I would tweak things. I felt like I could do better. I could do better with the sauce. I could do better with the dough. And throughout my life, you could see the way I made my dough it changed to what it is now.
What's the best pizza you've ever had?
Coal-fired pizza. I love coal-fired pizza.
Coal-fired pizza?
Yes. I used to own one, but I sold that, because we would do different things.
So the coal, does that make a hotter pizza?
Yeah, it's like 900 degrees, around 900 degrees. What I tell you is better than wood-fired pizza. Me, personally. I love coal-fired pizza.
Huh.
It gives it like a char, too. I don't know if you like charred.
I do.
So it gives a char to the pizza.
Uh-huh.
It's insane. So basically, like the coal that you grill, it's the same coal, but you're cooking pizza with that.
Interesting.
The ovens are like insane.
They're probably pretty expensive.
So it looks like a dome, like a wood fire oven.
Uh-huh.
But on the right side, there's an opening and there's a grate. So you put the coal on top of the grate. On the bottom, there's a chute where the coal drops into. But then there's also a fan that pumps air up into the coal to keep it stoked. It's insane. There's like a whole process in doing it.
That sounds like a very, very hot oven.
Yes. It's like 950.
So you can cook a pizza in what, 5 minutes? 3
Less.
minutes?
2 minutes.
2 minutes?
Yeah.
In and out.
Really. So a lot of the process is slowing down the cooking, but it still cooks in like a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you cook it too fast, it just burns outside and inside. It's
not cooked.
Yeah.
So you need that good temperature.
Yeah. But I like it better wood. I gotta say coal fire, wood fire, and then regular pizza. But you know what? Me being pizzas all my life, one day I'm into this. One day I'm into that. One day I want this. One day I want that.
Yeah.
I change a lot.
That's important.
My mind is like,
I think complacency scares me.
yeah,
Like that's my biggest fear is that I'll just get complacent.
yeah,
I'll get satisfied. Because I think when you're satisfied, you kind of get fat, dumb, and happy. And I always want to be kind of uncomfortable a little bit. I feel like when I'm uncomfortable, I'm pushing the edge a little bit.
yeah.
I'm going a little bit too far. And that's where I need to be.
That's how you move forward.
Right.
You can't sit here and be this happy with what you got.
No.
You always got to do, you got to push farther and farther. Granted, you know what? There's going to be a time where you're going to be like, all right, I need to relax now.
Enough is enough.
Yeah.
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 But I think for me,
I think the younger generation should have a mindset of always striving to push forward.
okay. Can we teach them that? Or is that something that comes from within?
Saddest thing to say right now is the generation that's being brought up, they're not being taught that, like, to push and push and push, try
Right.
to get farther. I have like the good things about social media too, and there's bad things about social media. And I think one of the bad things is I don't know how to explain it. Basically, there's a lot of stuff that's nonsense that's not meaningful to the world that people are into for some reason. I don't know why. And society is based around that, not meaningful things.
Right. There's a lot of distractions, I think, in this world, and the shiny object syndrome is attracting a lot of people and getting them off track of their own dreams.
Yeah.
And rather than living their own dreams and creating their own dreams, they're pursuing what they're being told is a good dream.
Yeah.
But I'm a big believer in this generation that's coming up, just because I know a lot of younglings that are fired up, that are not taking any prisoners and are not making any excuses.
Well, I think the generation that, like I said, this generation, but I think there's people that had enough with it.
I agree.
I think they're seeing the outcomes of where it's going.
I think the pendulum is swinging.
Yeah.
The pendulum is swinging back towards community and back towards expression and innovation and sort of pushing the limits and being a little less comfortable and complacent.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I mean, you see these people right now, they're like, the younger generation, they see a video of somebody doing something stupid that's not meaningful and they get popular.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, the person that's actually doing something constructive and meaningful and beautiful or something like that, nobody really pays attention to that.
I'm a big believer in humanity, and I think that the current distractions and entertainment that the social media has sort of offered us, I think that's kind of waning. People are like,
people are having enough.
People are getting over it, and I think we're going to see a return to something better. I don't know what that is. I obviously my crystal ball doesn't work.
Well, a lot of people are seeing that they're being misinformed. That's what I think it is. They're starting to see it now. Before they were all for all this stuff. Now they're starting stepping back and be like, whoa, I didn't know this. I didn't know that. And, oh, this is how you got to do this or that. They were misinformed for so long. Now they're starting to open their eyes. They're starting to realize, all right, maybe it's not like that.
Right. Great conversation.
Yes.
Thank you for coming into my studio.
Thank you for having me here.
And just, you're always welcome here. I love our chats. And I always feel a little bit more inspired after I talk to you. Like,
really?
Yeah, you kind of light a fire in me. And I appreciate that.
Really? Oh, I appreciate it. I'm glad. I love coming here to talk to you. That's why I come here all the time. Man, I always love to see your stuff. You know that. And I love to see the creations that's in your mind.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it.
I appreciate
Here, give me a hug.
it. Oh, that's awesome.
There were smack.